Welcome back to the Kris Krohn Show. Today I've got Garrett J. White, the one, the only, the wake up warrior. Dude, you have ignited such an insane movement over the years. Our history goes way back. And when I saw Warrior come forward, I was like, you're gathering all these men, you're waking them up. And I'd watch some of your marketing and be like, oh my gosh, some of this is so freaking polarizing. Yeah. Like, I love how it tears into my soul because there are parts that turn me off. There are parts that turn me on. Yeah. And I'm like, I think that's the point.
It has been completely the point. I mean, dude, listen, this whole thing originated when you and I were running.
Yeah.
And people hear the story, they're like, oh, dude, so you used to be business partners with Kris Krohn? I was like, no, I worked for Kris Krohn. I was an employee of Kris's. And Kris treated me as a partner, but I worked for him. And I'm very honest about it because I'm like, that season of my life was so important for what Warrior was to become. Yeah. I was transitioning from failed business, being in a world with you that was crushing. And there were so many conversations we had that you were completely oblivious to. That had such an impact on me. The first time I started speaking truth was because you brought me to Sang. And we go to Speaker Author Networking Group, and Keith Ferrazzi is talking about being candid. Yeah. And I was suited up, and you were crushing in business and life, and I was like, I was an employee with nothing. Nothing. And then you were showing me a path. When we were walking to I go, how do you run so many businesses, dude? Like, how do you do this? We're walking the first day. You're like, dude, I build the teams, we build the vision, and we go. I have great teams. But it was in that weekend transformed everything for me. Like, you didn't know. You're just like, dude, come to this event. It'll be cool with us. Now, fast forward 15 years. Yeah. And the world's completely opened up. It's just very different now.
Yeah. I remember supporting you in that ultra marathon.
That was incredible.
It wasn't ultra. It was like 166 mile. I think you made it to
130 miles. Yeah, 132 or something like that.
And I was just pacing, right? So I'm running side by side with you. Yeah. I've done a lot of distance, period, but I'm not running super fast. I'm like, I can support you for a few miles. And it wasn't. I think it was like 2 a.m, empty street in the middle of nowhere, some neighborhood. I remember the lamppost throwing down yellow light, and you broke down.
Yeah, big
time. And I was wondering, because I'm like, I was in awe of you. And I'm like, how are you doing this? But in that moment when I saw you get on your knees and say, why am I doing this? I felt like that's when I really met you for the very first time.
I was broken in the bottom. My life wasn't working. Like, your life was working at the time so much better than my life. And I had come from what I thought was working. And what I didn't recognize was happening was that God was stripping my false life away. And whether it was God doing it or my soul doing it by its own intent, either way, it doesn't matter. It was the same thing. That ultra, and that was so big for me for a whole bunch of reasons, because I was going to take on this thing that I knew I needed to do, and no one showed up. You showed up. A guy who's not running all the time. You run 32 miles. You're on your first marathon and ultra marathon in the same night. I'd been training like a year and a half for this thing. My brother's driving the SUV. He's parked across the street. I remember it. You're standing right next to me. We have the pictures and photos of us running together. No one showed up for me. Like, I don't have anyone. You showed up for me. Like, you did. And I was stuck. No. And I had no one to believe in me. But you did. And back then, even when I was questioning anything that existed in the conversation of God, there was Kris. And he said, God told me to help you. How much do you need? This defied anything I understood. I'd always given to so many people, but I'd never received from anyone. And you showed up. And then you kept showing up. And you kept showing up. And then you held space as I was trying to figure myself out. And I was shedding away all of these religious patterns in an environment that was not necessarily conducive to do it. Yeah. And there were all kinds of people judging me, and you continued to just show up with this God focus of saying, you maybe were confused yourself with what I was doing, but you just held space. And you gave me an opportunity at that time to teach soul purpose, for God's sakes. I was still trying to figure out who I was. Yeah. But you created a container for me to be able to have conversation around every day with the executives and the teams and the sales teams, and to be part of this conversation with them. And they all got tired of my running stories, because that was the only thing I was doing, was running stories. So it just became a big joke at the office, because Here comes Garrett. He's going to tell some more running
I
stories.
think actually for Halloween, people dressed up as Kris and Garrett in running gear and water bottles.
They did. But that piece in that season became like the foundation of truth. And if you look at where the men's movements have come, back then there was no men's movement. There was nothing. There was church groups, and church groups were sanitized groups of men who were dying and didn't know how to speak about truth. And I was just boldly sharing it and doing, because it was the only thing I had.
Yeah.
So we look at what's happening now. It's like 2025, and it's like the word authenticity is now something that people will use. They're like, okay, well, let's be authentic. Nobody was talking about this 13, 15 years ago. It wasn't popular to tell the truth. We weren't cheerleading Dodge. We weren't cheerleading the exposure of lies in the government. We were hiding as a people.
Yeah.
And then you watch God be slowly stripped out of everything. And then you watch the acceleration through COVID as we get told lie upon lie upon lie upon lie, which I believe was a complete setup. Meaning, I'm not talking about the people that set up COVID and the rest of it. I'm talking about God allowing a condition to occur, a downward into the pit that activated men like you and me and so many part of the Man in the Arena Tour to no longer just be producers, but men who now felt and accepted the call.
So I want to talk about this because you have your Man in the Arena Tour coming up.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be a part of it.
It's amazing.
It's because I think so many of us out there, especially with what's happened this last decade, I think men are feeling alone.
Yes.
I think they're deeply lonely. I think they're hurting. And I'm saying that because I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Like I'm just looking at my universe and I'm looking at the empire I've built and how alone it's been, and to carry the weight in the last few years have not been very kind. Mm-hmm. Like the economy's been really rough, and it's like, who do I turn to?
Yeah.
Well, everyone's looking at me. Mm-hmm. You're my employer, take care of me, give me a raise, help me. And I'm like, who's coming for me? Because I'm used to just carrying all of it for everyone all of the time.
This was the situation that I had been in my first 8 years as an entrepreneur. And then when it all fell apart, there was no one. There was you. There was Garrett Gunderson. There were 2 or 3 people who were there. Men that you could sit and talk to and share with. But even our ability to go to authentic truth at that time pales in comparison to what we're at now. Yeah. But there's so many men, successful and men who struggle, who sit in this place of alone. You know, even in our marketing and advertising, the last 13 years of Wake Up Warrior, for the first probably 10 to 11, maybe 12 years, the message always had to be around have more sex, make more money. These were the 2 driving hooks, because no dude wanted to buy transformation work.
Get paid, get laid.
Get paid, get laid. So people are like, what do you do? I'm the founder of Wake Up Warrior. I guide married businessmen with children how to get paid more and laid more so they can live the real purpose of God in life. And people are like, every book was like, that's what? Yeah, I teach dudes how to get paid more, laid more in marriage. Because that was the hook. Then you take 5 years of compression through COVID. You look at the government and the toxic masculinity conversation and the beating down on predominantly white married businessmen.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, they're wrong for everything. They've already been isolated. And I'm not saying there's not oppression of black men and there's not oppression in Latin men. There's oppression happening all over.
It's just the new racism.
It's a new racism. And I'm sitting around men like this, and they're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, who do I turn to? The reason we built environments like at Wake Up Warrior for 13 years the way we did, the primary reason, dudes would come because of getting paid and laid. And once they got there, what they were finding, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. I'm not as broken as I think I am.
Yeah.
That the world of being a king or being in pressure situations of always being the one that everyone turns, your wife turns to, your kids turn to, your teams turn to, your employees turn to you, your customers turn to you, other business owners turn to you. People tend to only come when shit's breaking and then they come to you for help. But there's very few when you produce at a high level where you can actually take your crown off and not be King Christopher or King Garrett anymore. Just be a brother and say, dude, I respect you.
Yeah.
I'm fucking having a hard time right now.
Yeah.
And then you find out the other dude's having a hard time too.
Do you know when I realized this? This is 6 years ago. Paid $100,000 to be in Tony Robbins, platinum mastermind.
Yeah.
Go to the very first event. People dropping $100,000 just to be in this particular room. It's a week-long financial retreat. They've had crazy economic gains and wins for people that have attended these. They've invited presidents and ministers, and I'm getting ready for this. And part of me is thinking, $100,000 for a week-long event. There's no way I could get enough value in a week to justify what I just paid.
Yeah.
But within the first hour that Tony comes out on the stage, he has us doing this little exercise. And I'm a participant. I'm a front rower. So I'm sitting as close to the front as I can. And Tony asks the question after the exercise. I raise my hand. And he has this look in his eyes as he comes right up to me. And I'm like, oh shit, I just walked into an intervention. He has me stand up, and for the next hour, just peels me like an onion. And maybe 20 minutes in, I don't even know what's happening, but I am ranting, yelling, screaming at the top of my mouth, top of my lungs, at how angry and pissed I am that I can't get my employees to do what I want them to do, and no one can keep up with me. And don't they feel the pressure and the stress? And can't they see what we need to do? And I popped.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everyone, there's 300 people in the room, predominantly men, all entrepreneurs, all started clapping. And I was confused. What just happened here? And I realized, oh, this thing I have, this is common, but we don't know it, and there's no brotherhood.
There's nobody talking about it. The same event happens with me. Like, you watch any man who stands up in a group of men and can authentically express his darkness and light and do it in an accountable and powerful way. And even if in the beginning he's not able to do it accountably, but he's just able to get it out. The moment this occurs, this man finds out that he was never the only one.
Yeah.
He's not the minority. He's the majority.
Yes.
And he's only the majority to the 95% who will tell the truth, and the other 5% are fucking lying.
Yeah.
Because they still can't own the fact that I'm not as bulletproof as I think I am.
Yeah.
To the world, I have to present my brand as I have it figured out. But on the inside is the terror of managing the relationship. Like trying to build a big business while running a marriage and trying to keep these two in harmony with two beings that are creating and procreating and revolving and evolving. Colin's not the same woman I knew.
No.
Not even close.
No.
As I sat here with her, you left the room and we were sitting talking, and I'm having this experience looking at your wife, and I'm like, I don't know this woman.
Yeah.
Like, I've only known of the woman I knew, not the woman she is. Which then has me go, this is a fun journey for Kris. Because this is a rediscovery of who this woman is, falling back in love with a new version, without the scars, without the past, without all of the trauma. But this is hard. Men can't even get on this journey. So then they swap the wife.
Yep.
They swap the business teams.
Yep.
They swap the executives.
Yep.
They swap the industry. They burn the business to the ground, build another one, thinking somehow if I get a 28-year-old and I go into this industry and I leave my wife and I do these things, it will be different.
And it's not.
It will be different for a season.
Yeah.
But it's what I call the false lift, which is instead of building myself to a new peak, I burn what I have down into the pit for the sense of growth and progress, only to build myself back to the same peak that I was punished for in the past. And now I'm trying to create something new. I can't create something new because I'm just going to keep looping. This is dudes on third marriage, and they're back at the same place. This is dude I'm talking to on the phone this morning. I'm like, bro, you are the only common element in this. It's not your wife, and it's not this girlfriend that you have. This is a cycle for you. You keep doing the same thing over and over again. But then it takes men like you and I to be able to sit and talk truth. Here is what it is. Here's my dark shit. Here's what I'm scared of right now. Every fucking guy's scared. Anyone who tells you you're not scared is full of shit. If you're building anything and trying to even maintain what you've created while building something new, the energy required to maintain stability, safety and security for your wife, safety and security for your children, safety and security for your employees, safety and security for your clients, safety and security for your funds, the money you raise, your investors, your whole world is built in stabilize while trying to grow. And this energy back and forth is chaotic. It's stressful. And most men live isolated in a box trying to grind this out. And it works until a certain point.
Yeah.
At which point you stop caring about anything because you start to see the inevitable treadmill that you're on. The lies begin to stack. The suppressed feelings begin to get compressed. Irritation becomes anger. Anger becomes rage. Now we're white knuckling the rage. And that's why the intervention with Tony, the white knuckling of the rage. Rage hunts a man. Irritation, it can sit. Anger is the function of things that were irritating we didn't address. People call themselves people pleasers or conflict avoiders, and we avoid the most conflict with ourselves. And now all of a sudden it's compressing. Anger compressed becomes rage, and rage begins to hunt him in. So what does he do? Sedates, pills, weed, alcohol, sex, gym, all these things to avoid this inevitable, which is why most guys will treat their employees great. Clients, great. Teams, great. People at the gas station, great. And then they come home and the reactive rage. Bleh. On the wife, on the kids, on family, on friends. And they begin to torch all the people who actually care about them,
support them.
The only fucking people that will be there when it burns are the one people who get torched. And then the guilt and the shame the next day. Then the lies have to stack. We have to say, I'm never going to do it again. But never addressing the core fundamental issue, which is you cannot contain rage and anger as a builder and a creator. Yet you are going to experience irritation for sure. Anger at times. But a man should never experience rage if he's addressing irritation and anger. It never builds to rage. You can be very irritated. When you deal with shit at irritation, you're like, I don't like that. Stop doing that. Boundaries. My wife used to talk real intense to me with language, like, you fucking pussy, you bitch. She would use words like this. I found this was not uncommon for most men. When women lose their shit, because they've been trained to keep it in, it comes out in rage, and rage is personal attack. And I used to accept this, and I'd be like, what the fuck? I never talked to her this way. And then, of course, it would build in me. And then I'd be like, you fucking bitch. And now we're going, you fucking pussy, you fucking bitch. And then we're both sitting there going,
what just happened?
What did we just do to each other?
Yeah.
And I couldn't for years handle it. So we would just go to silent mode and kind of let it go away for a couple days. And then we'd both be on awkward phase. And then like a week later, we'd kind of like have sex, but it was awkward. And then we kind of pretend it didn't happen. Until I started working on me in a massive way, saying, okay, what does an immovable man look like? I shouldn't be this reactive.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why? I was doing it to guys that I cared about. They would say something, I would get triggered, the rage would come out. Fuck you, Kris. Fuck you and fuck you and fuck you. And I'd look at my wife. I need a different woman. She's the wrong one. That was my life for 15 years with her. I'm with the wrong woman. I need a different woman. If I got a different woman, then I would be good because she wouldn't cause all this trigger in me. Oh, no. The universe will just deliver up the same vagina in a different package with the same ability to go, get ya. And the worst is guys will push themselves away from other men who they know are immovable, who will sit and listen to their bullshit and not judge them, but hold them accountable to their words.
Yeah. So that they finally learn.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you've gone through, I hadn't been around you for a couple of years.
10.
I mean, we saw each other like 3 years ago. Yeah. And prior to that, like 6 years. So that's what I saw on the outside. Then I got to sit here for 4 hours with you and get to know who you are now.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Like, it's beautiful. It's inspiring. Because to take on the game the way you're taking it on right now, at the peak.
Yeah.
By design.
And
most dudes default into new creation.
Yeah.
That was me when I was working for you. I didn't know how to recreate my life. So I had to burn it to the ground to give me a chance to try to build something new. And I couldn't go back to normal stuff. I couldn't. People went back into mortgages. I just couldn't do it.
I think part of it is we're always evolving, or at least we're designed to.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of us that just sit in stagnation. So we have all of this frustration and then we don't move. We don't know where to go. We don't know where the support is. We don't know where the training is. Tell me a little bit, in the Man in the Arena, it's about gathering men together. Yeah. And you're putting on this event in a way I've never seen one designed before. Like you're architecting this in a way to provide understanding, tools to get these men out of their stagnation.
Yeah.
And also give them access to brotherhood, to realize that, hey, you're actually not alone. You actually are surrounded in a brotherhood, and there's help and there's tools, and we can help each other. We can lift each other in this.
So most events involve women and men. Tony's events, men and women. Aspire Tour, men and women. Funnel Hacking Live, men and women. Most workshops and most boot camps include men and women. The challenge of inviting one woman into the room, right? Colinne's beautiful. You invite Colin into the room, and we have 30 men sitting here. The minute she walks in, particularly in her feminine power, her feminine energy tilts the entire room. Men will then be more guarded. They'll be less honest. They'll be more peacocking. Look at me, Colin, look at me. Even if they're not consciously thinking. Now, respectful men block their sexual energy and they keep it back. Disrespectful men let their sexual energy flow. These are untrained men. Trained men can keep it in. So the men around my wife, she'll come into the room. The minute my top 150 guys are there, she's like, most of you guys think I'm hot. I was like, I know that. You are a beautiful woman and you know how to channel your feminine out. It's impossible for them not to feel this. I said, but what do you feel around them? Respect. I said, yeah, because they've learned how to block it.
Yeah.
They hold it. They feel it. They contain it. They bring it into their hearts and then they let it out. They don't go to the penis and doesn't go to fantasy and porn images in their mind. They have control. So you can be safe in that. Women feel the most safe in an environment with men who are immovable and in control. This is what God built. Men to be connected to him, grounded and immovable, so that the feminine can experience itself in its wild circus. But men are so undisciplined and so out of control that they get triggered and moved. So in the beginning for men, we can't include women.
There's not a single woman allowed in this arena event.
There are only a handful of women that will be there.
Backstage.
The wives of the men who are leading it. And those women are in their own room, off stage, away from the guys. No one sees them. So we do this because it creates a different experience for men. And we've been doing this for 13 years. Every one of our events have been all men, all men, all men. And the minute you put men together and then you require men to wear all black with the same branded shirt. It's not Warrior, it's not Limitless, it is Man in the Arena. All unified. 10 different men's movements and men who lead men and men who lead people, bringing people together in a room and saying, hey, we're going to drop all of our banners for a second.
Yeah.
We're going to look at ourselves as men in the arena, many kingdoms unified under one cause, under God, to bring the power of God back into men. Well, when we put them in this container, men love to be tribal. We all want to be in a gang. We all want to be in a tribe. It's natural. I put 100 men in a room. They will not all unify. They may hate the other side of the room, but unified and looking the same, they feel part of a unit. Yeah. Tribal behavior takes guys down to 6, 7, 8 guys. Most men cannot have more than 6 or 7 or 8 truly sold the fuck out men. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm there. You shrink that group down to about 2 or 3 guys. So even in a large group of people like, dude, there's like 5,000, 6,000 men. How am I going to connect? You don't have to. It's the intensity of the room and the intensity of the trainers that creates a cocoon and a vortex so men can experience something in themselves they cannot recreate on their own. This is why guys say, where 2 or more gathered in my name, I will be there also. And we've watched this vortex open, but it's always been me leading in Warrior with my trainers. So it's always been this. The challenge is I have a superpower for sure, but I also have super weakness. So as we put together the arena tour, I was like, okay, there are men in my world who have listened to me for years, some for a decade. They've fucking done nothing. Yet when they listen, they want to go. So when I place Kris next to me and I speak and then Kris speaks, men in that arena who have been called by God to the message, but I was not the guide to bring them to the promised land. Kris is.
They activate.
And
they go from listener mode to doing.
And this is what I've cared about the most. It's why people are like, why don't you have more on social media? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Ty Lopez, why don't you spend more than I spend? Because I'm not committed to waking guys up. That's easy. Yell, 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 cheer, 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 wake a dude up, go drink your beer. It's over. Nothing changes. Transformation has been the game for me. How do I guide a man to not only wake up, but to stay awake?
Yeah. On
his own.
Yeah.
Not having to plug into Kris every 15 minutes. Kris, help me. Kris, help me. Kris, help me. Garrett, help me. Garrett. No. And when I thought I was a guru, which I kind of played like a guru, and was not involving God. It was heavy and it was destroying me. When I recognized God as the only source of transformation, I'm not a transformational trainer. I'm a guide who leads from what I live. You lead from what you live. Keaton leads from what he lives. Men who lead from what they live know they're guides to the promised land, but they're not God and they're not the promised land. Their job is to wake up the slaves in Egypt, to go to war with the Pharaoh in order to get the people to move. 1 million people followed Moses out of Egypt after 400 to 500 years of slavery. They were born into this. He had to come in with the commanding force of God to not only deal with the world he had come from, the world he was raised in, but then he had to convince, with the power of God, 1 million people to leave their safety and security in their slavery. Which is why, when we have played the game for years, the game has constantly had to be a hook of money and sex, because these seem to be the things that get men to move out of Egypt. Well, if I go to the desert with you, will I have more money and sex? Yes. Okay, I'm in. Do you want to be free?
I'm not so sure.
I don't know. I mean, what does that mean, free? That means more sex and more money. Okay, I'll go. But what's happened now is that the pressure is so intense on men from every angle, from the bombardment of social media on their children, the confusion of over-sexualized society, the constant hunt for money and riches as if somehow it will deliver freedom. Men have now exhausted the normal channels. And now it's become so heavy that the primary indicator for most men coming to the arena is they're alone, isolated, lost, and scared. But we've been raised as men to never express that I'm lonely, lost, scared, and afraid. And so when men like you and I, who represent the standard of life, physically, in our spiritual relationship with God, in our marriages, in our kids, and our money, men listen. So the arena is about activating men in an environment that I've tested, proven, without a question. It's not an if for me. Hundreds and hundreds of these events, thousands and thousands, 70,000 men have come through Warrior. Only what we're doing now is not Warrior. What we're doing is activating a war. And this is why man in the arena as a concept will become crystallized in 2025. It will be launched and ignited in the first one happening May 17th. I already know where it's going. The question is getting men to come.
Yeah.
Because there's so much resistance to, I don't know if I believe in Kris and Garrett and Keaton and the rest of the crew. I don't know if I believe in those guys. Or I don't know if this arena protocol, this arena event's going to do anything different for me, because I've gone to the Happy Clappy conferences, and I've gone to Tony, and I've gone to Limitless, and I've gone to Aspire, and I've gone to Clever Investor, and I've gone to these events, and they're great events. There's nothing wrong with 10X GrowthCon. These are great events. These are not what we're doing. They're closer to the transformational work you do, but rip all the women out. And the minute the women are gone, and it's just men, you and I sitting on the couch is different than you and I and Colin sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
Because you have feminine energy holding and supporting you. When she's gone and it's you and I, it's just two savage warlords having conversation. It's two souls who are able to see one another in masculine power, both mirroring our strengths and our weaknesses back to each other. This creates what I call the box of mirrors. We've created actual physical environments in one of our training facilities where we require a man to take his shirt off. He steps into the box of mirrors and we shut the door. And in silence for 5 minutes, he has to be with himself. No media, no cameras, no other men, no women, no attention, nobody looking, no looking good, no trying to be something you're not. Within the first 2 minutes, most men begin to break. Within 5 to 6 minutes, most men are sobbing. I'm talking aggressive men. All of the atypical alpha men you have ever seen in your life, military men, high-producing entrepreneurs, tatted up, jacked up, across the board, fat, short, skinny, doesn't matter. When you put a man in a box of mirrors, He's confronted with himself and the voice of God. And a man cannot hide from his lies in this place. Because every night he goes to bed, he knows the truth. And every morning he wakes up, no matter how he tries to hype himself up with his ice baths and his red sauna waves, he knows the truth. I'm a liar. I'm scared. I'm hiding. My marriage is not where I want it to be. My leadership of my kids is not where I want it to be. My body's not where I want it to be. My business is not where I want it to be. But the bigger problem is they don't even know what they want. Because for so long, they've lied in the box of mirrors, covered their eyes with a blindfold, shoved earplugs in, and pretended they weren't in the box of mirrors, invited other men into the box of mirrors. At the arena event, the fact that we gather creates a visceral, energetic box of mirrors. So Kris shares and speaks, breathes fire that God has called him to speak. But then in the arena event, unlike a normal spectator event or going to a large church where you sit and watch in a general conference or a large megachurch or listening to a pastor speak, these men now are required to speak with each other. It's what you've heard from stage, but then it's what you're hearing being shared with another man that begins to awaken this man to see truth for himself. The arena event is not a seminar, it's an experience. The experience happens because the men are as actively involved in the experience as the people who are presenting, versus lining up 20 speakers who all breathe a message and then leave the men to hopefully figure it out. The men in our process are required to figure it out as we do it so that they share. Then Kris talks to 2 or 3 of them in the arena of 5,000 men to make sure that everybody got it. Drives home the point. And then with that solid frame, we build the next frame. The next man comes on with a sequentially planned out stage of messaging that allows the man to break and remake himself in one day at the arena.
I want to get into this right now for just a minute. Break and remake himself.
Yes.
In this one day event.
In one day.
So he walks in what and he leaves what?
Most men will walk into this arena event lying to themselves still.
And alone.
And alone. So when he gets in the first couple hours of this, the way we built these experiences and we've proven them over the last decade, we will create a container for a man in the first few hours to break himself by design. And once a man's broken, he's able to see for the first time things that are working, things that are not working, things that he wants, things that he doesn't want. And now with that perspective of seeing these things, he now for the first time has access to his dominion. What do I want? So the breaking is not a breaking to destroy, it's a breaking to see. The remaking is then getting clear once I'm sitting on this foundation of facts, not fiction. Here's the facts. Hard for a guy. I've sat with guys and they're telling me about their marriage problems. And I've seen their wife physically. I've experienced her energetically, and I ask them a very hard question. I say, are you attracted to your wife? And the pause. No. Do you want to be with your wife? No. Who have you told this to? No one. Have you ever wanted to be with her? Yes. When did you stop wanting to be with her? Okay. If you looked in the mirror right now, are you fuckable? 45 pounds overweight. No. So, did she turn you off or did you turn yourself off? Where's this? Who's the cause of this?
Extreme accountability.
Radical.
Getting inside and starting to see truth.
And it's very difficult. Even the level we're at, it's difficult because it requires you to be so radically connected to a singular truth, which is I am the creator of all that I experience and see. Yeah. There's no blaming. Unfortunately, we had a great role model in Adam. So the first guy here, doing the game perfect, killing it. Got a hot woman, they're both naked. God's like, do whatever you want. Just create here. Just don't hang out over that tree. Don't do that one because it's going to change the game. If you want to change the game, you can, but I'm telling you, it's going to be better if we just live in abundance and create prosperity. That'll be a better deal. Again, don't do that one, but I'm not going to force you to not do it. But I'm just saying, I'm warning you, don't do that one, because if you do, the whole game's going to change. So, of course, who was it? The guy or the girl? For sure, the guy. Adam's the leader. He was the first one born. I'm sure Eve looked hot. He had an idea. Hey, it'd look great if we were over there, making love while we were eating that apple. We should do that. Let's try a little apple sex. Now, I'm being facetious in it because we don't know exactly what went down. But knowing men, for sure, there was a thought that came in. That's new. That's naughty. That's different. Let's do the naughty thing. Now, the crazy part was they do it. And then God comes down and he's like, hey, Adam, where have you gone? Where'd you disappear to? His first response, man, I was ashamed, embarrassed, guilty, filled with all these feelings. I didn't know what to do with them. So I hid myself from you. I was terrified. I had all these feelings I've never had before. Fear, doubt, worry, guilt, shame. And I hid myself, covered myself with fig leaves. Well, why did you do this, Adam? It was the woman that you gave me. She did it. The woman thou gavest me gave me of the apple and said that I should partake. Lack of accountability started in Genesis. Adam does the thing God told him not to do, but doesn't stop him from doing it. Any different than men today. God's giving him prompts and revelation to men every day. Start doing this. Stop doing this. Sustain doing this. Men do the thing God says stop doing, or they don't do the thing God said start doing, or they eradicate the thing God told them to sustain doing. And instead of being accountable for it, they go,
they did it.
It's that woman that
It's not me.
It's my business partner. It's the president. It's Tesla.
It's excuses.
Victimhood all over the place. So the first victim was Adam. He created victimhood for us. And now all of us are under this blanket of lies called I'm not accountable for my life. And so when you get to this place, though, there's another side of it, like you've experienced and I've experienced. There is a power that can only be found in radical accountability. Because now it's no longer anyone's pot. It's not this bottle of water. This Pellegrino isn't the Kris of my life. I chose to pick this up. I chose to take the lid off. I chose to drink it. It doesn't make me sick because it's water. But if I drink 40 of these, my stomach's going to hurt. I'm going to piss like a racehorse. I'm going to cause myself some problems. It's a lot of fluid. I'm going to swell up everywhere. My face is going to get puffy. I can't sue Pellegrino. Although we live in a society where you can sue Pellegrino. But when men say, I'm the one that drank this poison. I'm the one that yelled at my wife. I'm the one that can't be movable. My wife isn't sexual. She doesn't like sex. No, you can't seduce it out of her. You don't know how. Because here's what I know. There's another 10,000 men minimum on the planet who, if they met your wife, could turn her into a sexual savage in one night. How do I know? Because I've watched it happen to divorce after divorce after divorce, sexless marriages, and all of a sudden this woman finds a man who can see her, and the sexual desires this man wanted to have with this woman for 15 years, all of a sudden unleashed with a guy that she met 2 weeks ago. And they come to me suffering. How is this possible? Dude, this guy knew the formula of seeing your wife. You could not see her because you can't see yourself. So as it starts to open up, you're like, well, if I'm a cause for all of it, like, what do I do?
And that also means that the solution is inside of you.
Yeah. I was the one who had trained my wife to not be a sexual savage. For 12 years, I kept saying the same statement. You're just not sexual. You're not sexual. You're not sexual. You don't even like sex. Blah, 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 blah. So 2016, I have like this ultimatum conversation with Danielle. And I said, there's 4 things that are non-negotiable for me in this marriage. 1, I'm going to be in a relationship with a woman who has a purpose beyond me and the children. I am not going to deal with this texting every 15 minutes all day. Where are you when I come home? Where are you coming home? I need a woman who has a purpose in this life as a soul that's beyond me and the kids. 2, I need a woman who I can be with authentically all of myself. I'm not going to filter myself. I'm going to have dark moments and I'm going to have light moments. You can't just ride this rodeo called Garrett J. White, who produces the speed he does in business and money and provides a lifestyle, and not understand that that same energy has a dark side. And vice versa. All women are bitches. They have their bitch mode. They have their brilliant mode. Just like dudes are assholes and aspiring. We all have it. Third, that this woman I'm married to, is going to co-create with me. We're going to build stuff together. I want to be in a relationship with a woman we can build things together. Not just on your own. Not just be honest with each other. I want to create with you. Fourth, I'm going to be in a relationship that is TTF. A woman who tells me, uses her words to speak power into me, touches me when I'm in the room, sitting beside her, touches me, not sexual, just touches me. And third, fucks me. I do not want to be in a relationship where sex is awkward. I want it to be normal and natural, and I'm going to have this. And I told her, these are the things I'm going to have. And she said, well, I don't know about number 4. I said, well, if you don't know about number 4, here's the deal. You leave me choices. She said, what do you mean? I said, I could get a side chick, but I'm not going to do that. I can get divorced from you and go find the woman that's up to that. Or you could rise and come with me to that place. But here's what you need to know. I'm going to go there with or without you. But you're my first choice. If you want to come with me, go. If you don't, and this is your exit, that's fine. But I'm going to have this. But to come to terms with this, that led us into sex therapy. And so we're sitting on a couch. She's at that end. I'm at this end. We're hardly talking, but we're talking to the therapist. So she would say her piece at the therapist. The therapist looked to me. I would say my piece. And about 45 minutes to an hour into this session, my wife says something that shatters my frame. My little story that held her contained as a prisoner sexually. And she looks out of anger and frustration at the therapist and says, I want to fuck. I want to be taken. I want to be fucked well. I want to have deep sexual passion with a man. I just don't want it with him. And I'm like,
breathe that for a moment.
My whole world I had created dissolved.
Yeah.
Because of my story that was not true for her. It was my story I projected on her.
And that made you unfuckable.
Unfuckable to the extreme. Who wants to fuck a guy who constantly tells him that you don't want to fuck? So she literally started shutting herself down sexually. She's like, if that's what you think I am, then that's what I'll be.
Hexing.
Hex the shit out of her. Prophesied over her for 15 years. Now, what is my marriage now? Dude, free-flowing. My wife does strip teases for me, lingerie, platform shoes, sends me sexy photos. We have FaceTime sex when I'm on the road. It's normal and natural. We'll lay out and pull the doors off the windows in the middle of the day. We used to have sex without the doors all shut, 5 covers on us, a North Face suit, and just barely enough to make it happen. 2, freedom. My wife couldn't walk around naked in front of me. She would actually turn and hide from me when she changed. Now, she'll just walk around naked doing her hair because there's a level of respect and honor in who I am. I'm not just some horny teenager. I'm like honoring her for who she is and her beauty, looking her in her eyes, wanting her for more than her body, wanting to connect with her in a way that's beyond orgasm, but I didn't know this until we started satisfying that the thing I was actually after
was connection.
Was bigger. I remember even saying that years ago, and I was like, Kris is fucking crazy. You're like, I like sex, but I'm after this other thing. And I was like, Kris is fucking crazy. I'm just after penis and vagina, man. I just want to make that happen. But like money and sex, once you have it in abundance, you recognize for the first time that was a checkpoint to the thing you're actually after.
Correct.
Which is something that no orgasm and no amount of cash can ever satisfy.
Yeah. And it's a gateway to something more. Most people shut the door the moment they walk through.
I got laid, now I'm good. I got paid, now I'm good. Or their God is sex and money. But that's hard to convince a guy who's in a sexless marriage, who's struggling with money, that that's the case. And so we have to work it back to where men are at, which is why Men in Arena Tour, these events create conditions for guys to say, here's where I'm at.
So let me be very clear. Someone should not come to Man in the Arena if they're not willing to look at themselves.
Yeah,
they should not register and attend if they're not willing to recognize the truth, be vulnerable, and actually evaluate, all right, I get that there's a lot that you're doing really well. Are you willing to look at the parts of you that aren't? Because those are the parts that are creating the pain in you.
Yeah.
But someone should come to man in the arena if they're ready to stop hiding, if they're ready to level up their life, and if they want to start living the good life, like the one that they dream about, that they fantasize about, that they've always wanted. But dude, this is what I told my daughter when she got married. She married this guy that I got my black belt with, and we did 10 years of Taekwondo together. So we've watched this love story unfold over a decade. And I sat down with them on the month before, and I'm asking myself, this is my first daughter getting married. I'm deciding, who am I going to be? What kind of father-in-law am I going to be? What kind of dad do I want to be after my daughter's married? And I sat down with the two of them, and I said, okay, guys, I'm just going to level with you right now, because marriage is beautiful and it can be super awful. So here's the best advice that I can give you. Liesl, when you're with Joey, you're going to be more. And Joey, when you're with Liesl, you're going to be more. But the two of you together aren't going to be everything you need. And you'll know that because within the first 6 months, you'll find your 1, 2, or 3 things that you guys will fight about, and you're just not going to figure out. And here's the gift that I want to give you. The gift is, when you guys fight about something, that's cool. When you fight about it a second time, it's a pattern, and you'll fight about it 2,000 more times. Which means you now need outside intervention. And that outside intervention is what's going to keep you from looking back in 20 years and saying, I'm pissed about this one thing that we never figured out. So all you're going to do is text dad, and for the rest of your life, you get into this situation, I'm going to put that counselor, I don't need to know, it's confidential, and you guys work this out, because the two of you don't have what it takes yet to do that alone. Man in the arena is about recognizing that you in and of yourself don't possess everything that you need to create the transformation. Nobody does. And even if you're God-fearing and it's like, well, I got God in my life. I'm like, that's great. And what tools has God created and provided for you so that you can get out of your own way? This game of developing your soul, developing your character that you and I have been involved in for the last 2+ decades, that's a game that most men will never enter. So when they come into the arena, the part that I'm excited about, if I can say this, the part that I'm so excited about is that if you're willing to be vulnerable, and if you're willing to be seen in all of your darkness and in all of your light, the tools and the experience will be provided for you to self-diagnose. Where are you not? Where don't you show up? Where are you not causing? And then we're going to augment and bridge that gap so that you can then possess the tools to awaken and then become the rest of everything that you are meant to be.
Amen. Well articulated. And the crazy part is, men will be listening to this and they'll go, okay, well, dude, I kind of got my shit figured out. But my life is actually working really well. Yeah. So a lot of times people think this is a broke man's conference. Like, this is dudes come who are totally broken.
I think this is for freaking high performers that are always hungry for that next freaking level.
Well, and high performance it's just like bodybuilding. Before I was bodybuilding, I walked around like, dude, I'm a fucking savage, dude. I'll murder everyone in this room. I look back at myself a couple years ago at 190 pounds versus 230, and I'm like, you had a lot of tenacity, you had a lot of confidence and certainty, but you also were deeply ignorant. Now, what's funny though at 230 is I'm much more self-aware of what I eat, my body. I notice other people's bodies. I can tell gym bros versus dudes who do bodybuilding training. I can tell dudes that hit the CrossFit but don't actually, their bodies are off center. I can notice shoulder cap, quads. I can tell dudes that skip legs. I never noticed any of this shit before. So the crazy part is, the bigger you are as a producer, the more hyper aware you are of the shifts and changes that need to happen. Yeah. And the more consequence it sits in your life for not making these shifts. Yeah. To Bobby Bud Light, love him. He's great. He's trying to get off the ground for the first time. And the arena is built in a way that allows for the guy who's just trying to get it started to sit in the stadium seats and to be part of the experience, while on the floor in VIP are our producers who are saying, and like, it's like fitness and nutrition. The people that pay the most for fitness and nutrition are the most fit people. Yeah. It's not the opposite. The most obese people don't want to pay for it. The most fit people pay for most of the high-end fitness because they want ultra performance. So you have these two groups that come together, but the crazy part is, regardless, we'll have guys there that are billionaires, and we'll have guys there who are literally working jobs and they hate their job and they're making $80,000 a year. And one guy invested $195 to be there, and the other guy invested $5,000 to be in the front row, and they're sitting in the same arena. But once we get started, here is the coolest part that we've watched happen forever. When you play the holistic game that you call have it all, I call have it all, this game of body being balanced in business, or fitness, faith, finance, or whatever you want to fucking call it, the letters, this idea of a comprehensive living, all men unify on truth. Which means you can have a billionaire in a conversation with a dude that makes $80,000 a year, and when the conversation is a conversation of truth and God is present in the room, all men grow.
Yeah.
And there's a unification regardless of your status in life, because the box of mirror effect causes every man to have an awareness experience and then build the plan to his next peak, regardless if the dude next to him has been able to accomplish financially what he's been able to accomplish.
I'm actually glad you're bringing this up, because one of the most annoying things about most conferences is that, especially, and it's interesting, it happens when the women are present. Men size each other up, and then they basically have to see who has a bigger dick, and then they have to compare stats. And I'd walk around and say, well, I've done $2 billion worth of real estate, 6,500, no big deal. I'm just number one in the world for this. And the significance is just trying to say, do you know where I belong in the pecking order? At the freaking top. And it's like, how do you put that away so that men just become their naked truth, so that they can do the work of transformation so their ego doesn't get in the way?
The piece that's easy with this is that there's no man that has it all working right now at the same pace, meaning the more you build a marriage that works, the more you recognize the small things that must change. So when the focus is on a man, which the Man Arena Project, the way it's built, is built as a box of mirrors that compels every man to be in himself. But he's in communion and conversation with many others. But the conversation always comes back to me. Okay, all right. What am I hearing from this, and where do I grow? And what is God telling me about my improvement? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to pick up? What do I need to keep doing? So this conversation is universal in principle, is very parabolic, just as Christ's teaching in the New Testament. I teach in parables so that those who have eyes to see can see, and those who have ears to hear can hear. That's it, which means there's no level of depth that it cannot go. And the crazy part is the higher, the breakthroughs are the same. If you looked at a guy who makes $50 million a year and you take a guy who makes $50,000 a year, the jump for these guys is the same jump. In contrast, they look like different jumps, but the feeling of letting go and jumping is the same for both men. So the harmony of the experience itself lays it down in a way that allows for every guy at every level to hear the same trainer, yet have the same jump, yet on the surface looking at it, this dude may be looking at his move and go, bro, it's easy. I had his hand on that shit like 13 years ago. And this guy's looking at the other guy going, I can't even believe you're making those decisions. But they both feel the same pressure of expansion.
What's really weird is that I had so much ego when I was in the beginning of my journey. And I remember when I got stuck at $500,000 a year for years. And I was just terrified to make $1 million. I was scared. Like I could create a net worth of $1 million in a year. That was easy. But to make 1 million take home, like that was a moment in my life. But I remember how I had that breakthrough that actually pushed me through it. And it was being in a group of men. There were a few women in this. It was on men's only, but this was like 90% men. And I got to also meet the men that had already done that. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm going to borrow their faith. I see the jump they're trying to make from 1 million to 10 million or whatever. If they can do it, I can do it too. There was a camaraderie that came in that experience. So I think everyone that comes to Man in the Arena, I think they do need to be prepared to put the ego down. And you're going to do that by saying, we're going to go inside and focus on you anyway. This is not a networking event. This isn't like necessarily, this is a brotherhood, but it is about everyone doing their work.
And the neat thing about it is you're going to have probably half of the arena will be guys who have already been deep into this work for years. And then you're going to have the group that is brand new to this experience. So the fact that you have so many men who have already gone through this process, the breakouts and conversations you're having, in every breakout, you're going to have a guy who's already walked the path that you're about to walk. And so the principle you're talking about becomes permission. One of the greatest things that happens inside of events like this, and we watched it happen for 13 years, is permission. A guy sits outside the arena. He doesn't have to give himself permission. He steps into the arena, and the energy of being around men like this gives him permission to ultimately do what he's already wanted to do.
Dude, I got goosebumps because I can feel it. I can see it. Walking into that arena, that next arena, it's going to be a moment. And I think every man that walks through that door is going to say, I'm experiencing something I've never experienced before. I remember when I went hunting for the first time. I come from a Republican non-gun family, really weird. And my brother got into hunting and he invites me. He says, "Hey, I want you to go and hunt with me." I'm like, I will take zero joy in taking the life of an animal. And skipping the entire story, the moment I took this alpha ram's life, which is the first now of dozens of animals I've taken all around the world, I experienced this spiritual adrenaline. It was a feeling I'd never experienced before. And to this day, I put it in its own category of like, it's difficult to describe and you have to experience to know what it is. That's what Man in the Arena is. When you get in an all men group, everyone's willing to be absolutely vulnerable. Mm-hmm. They're going to experience something that they won't be able to, and then they're going to go home to their wives and they're like, what was it like, honey? It's just like, I think they're going to struggle to find the words, but inside, their wife is now going to witness the new man that has emerged. There's nothing like it.
Well, the experience you had hunting with the ram was a pivot, right? So there's you before and there's you after. You can't maintain the same perspective based upon the experience. The experience pivots a man. So if you look at the event as, so people say, well, what's my ROI for this? How am I going to get my money back? Well, number one, the pricing of the tickets is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Number two,
you're going to get your ROI like 10,000%.
You're going to get that before you even walk into the arena.
Yeah.
So that's one piece. The second piece I was looking at from this, we oftentimes want to look at ROI in the pivot when we look at just what happened from the morning to the night.
Yeah.
And we say, okay, well, that wasn't worth it. You know, I was here in the morning and I got here at night. No. The thing that happened for you was the pivot. Now we have to measure the ROI on your investment to come of time, energy, travel, etc. Not based upon where you are that night. It's based upon where you are the next week, the next month, the next year, because the pivot becomes the new direction, the shift in legacy, the shift in trajectory. Andy Elliott calls it the bloodline breakers.
Yeah. Someone's going to come to this event and they're going to wonder about their ROI, and they're going to get to the end of the year and they're going to say, oh my gosh, I doubled my income, or I tripled my income, or I'm having a lot more sex with my wife, or I'm just happier inside, or I feel like I'm holding my space and I'm holding my own, or my body. Like, you're going to look at the end of the year and you're going to say, wow, that was so worthwhile. And I'm like, wait a decade.
Yeah.
Wait a decade. Every day, as long as you're in the fight till the day you die, you're going to get an ROI on that experience. So there are a few things in life that can promise an infinite ROI.
Yeah.
Man in the Arena is going to be one of them.
So listen, those of you watching this, here's what I would tell you. All right. Listening to this, watching this, seeing the clips that Kris and I put out, you already know. Like, there's moments when you're listening to somebody speak, you start to feel something inside that's different than what you're even hearing. The words aren't even the words anymore. There's a moving inside your soul. There's a moving in your mind. There's a place in your brain where you're trying to figure out, where do I need to go? Am I going to go? You already know you need to go. Go to maninarenatour.com and pick up a ticket before they're gone.
And also get the most appropriate ticket. If you're a high producer, don't do general admission, because you're going to want to be sitting down with individuals that are at that producer level.
Yeah. It will make a difference. It'll make a difference. You'll see this VIP party happening with it too, which is happening the night before the event with all the speakers, myself, Kris, and the rest of us, as well as all the other VIPs who are sitting in the front. So there'll be several hundred of us together that night. This is invaluable for brotherhood and connection and conversation. So for our top guys, if you're like me and Kris, we don't do stadium. We just do front row. That's it. I'm going to get to the front row. I'm going to get with these guys, period. Those are going fast. We have a handful left. So check them out. You can see it at maninarenatour.com or on any of the links that we put here underneath these videos or this audio as you've listened to it. Kris, I appreciate you being part of it, and I appreciate you doing the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And for the rest of you, I just want to connect on the heart of what Man in the Arena is about. It's a group of men led by Garrett that simply care about this brotherhood and care about you. I look at it and I'm like, what's my ROI? What do I get out of this? I'm like, are you kidding me? I get to join forces with you where I become better because you're there. And I believe that you're going to be better because I'm there, or whoever it is, whatever men you're going to meet that you're going to be connecting with. So if you have felt alone, and if you're looking for brothers that you can grow with, and if you're looking at finding those gaps, filling them, and finishing the rest of your transformation for this moment of evolution in your life, maninarenatour.com. Get your ticket. We'll see you there.